What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Vespasian of the almighty Imperium Decadence. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's very good to be here. Cheers to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's so awesome to have you here. Into Sorrow Evermore is an absolutely amazing album. For people who haven't heard this record yet, do you feel that the first single that we heard, November Monument, is a good representation of this entire album, or is there a lot more to be discovered?
I think there is a lot more to be discovered, but we have already put out two singles. The first one was Memory is a Raging River, a real fast song with a very melancholic ending. The second single was, as you mentioned, November Monument, a very melancholic and doomy song, very slow tempo. And I think both songs combined, they both give a good impression of what's going on the Into Sorrow Evermore album. We tried to put our trademarks to the more extreme. The fast stuff is more faster than ever before, and the melancholic doomy stuff is slower and I think more intense than ever before. Yeah.
Do you feel that this is just sort of like a continuation of When We Are Forgotten? Was this meant to be picking up where you left off after that, or is this meant to signify like a new beginning for Imperium Decadence?
Uh, I think we always have the goal to progress. We have our own handwriting since the very beginning, and we all always have the goal to get better and to intensify the songwriting. When We Are Forgotten was the first album where the lyrics, for example, were more personal than ever before, not this history stuff going on than on previous albums. And this was the way we wanted to continue with one main difference, so to say. We wanted to have the songs more compact, no ambient stuff between the songs. It should be like a fist in your face, the new one. I hope that we have reached the goal. It's 50 minutes of pure emotion. I hope that the people will recognize what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will say that from When We Are Forgotten, Transcendence is my favorite black metal song of all time now. Like when I first
Oh,
heard that,
thank
like
you.
I think that's just as class. It to me, it's just as classic as a Freezing Moon. So I just put that out there right now. And with all these emotions
Thank
that
you.
you're channeling into it, is these emotions rooted in like a personal experience in a way, or is this interpreting emotions through examining somebody else in a way? Is this almost like portraying some other side?
I know what you mean. Imperium Decadence is definitely a very personal thing. So to say, we are our own therapists. Yeah? It's like a process of catharsis to write and record these songs. So yeah, it's a very personal thing. We don't have any script like a movie that we have to transport this emotion or this stuff. We have always to transport the emotions we feel. There's no show, there's no entertainment here. It's very personal. It's now listening to Into Evermore, for example. For me, it's like if somebody has taken pictures from vacation, from exciting moments, and when I put on the record, I instantly have in mind what's going on the last 3 years. So it's personally as fuck, so to say.
Yeah. You mentioned catharsis, and unleashing your emotions is definitely a cathartic experience through art. But by having to channel your inner demons and your own personal traumas, does that also maybe make the songwriting process just as deteriorating and painful as it could be cathartic?
It's not painful, but it's sometimes there are stressing moments where you feel, oh, I have to put really everything into it, into a riff, into a lyrical phrase or stuff like that. So it's exhausting from time to time, because it's like you're ripping off your skin, so to say, and to put everything out that was collected in your heart and your soul. So it's not that easy, to be honest. Not that easy. But
Absolutely.
if it's done and recorded, then you feel I'm feeling, or we feel very free after. For example, if you go for a workout, it's hard to do it, but afterwards you feel good, because you did it,
Absolutely. I feel like I always ask, like, when an artist uses darkness and pain as like their main source of
Mhm.
inspiration. So I always say, like, sometimes an artist could become a victim of their own product and become like almost enslaved to the darkness, where it almost seems like
Mhm.
creating art about it is just as traumatic as the experience.
Yeah, but we are no victims of darkness, because darkness, how we see and feel it, is a very it's full of inspiration. For example, if you walk through the night, you see the stars. You see the universe, or let's say a small part of it. If you walk in daytime, you see nothing, just the blue sky. So the truth, you, you're more, you're nearer at the truth in the night than in the day. We, darkness is nothing we compare with negativity or depression or bad feelings. It's for us. It's exactly the opposite. Darkness, you feel free, you feel inspired. I think if you are able to accept that everyone on this earth has, let's say, a dark side, then it will be much easier when destiny hits you hard to accept and to challenge with hard situations. Because if you relate to pop music or stuff like that, they always sing about the sun, good times, girls, and blah blah blah. But this is only one part of life. What we are trying to do is to be open-minded to all the part, the darkness and the light. And we are focusing on the darkness because I think um, my father is from the uh, creative industry, and he always said, black is the ultimate color, the immortal color. And I think he's right.
Absolutely, absolutely. It utilize the word is in your genre to begin with, so it's
And for example, when you are at the extreme metal festival, wherever it is, you meet the most friendly and relaxed people you can ever meet. There's
absolutely.
mostly no aggression going on. All people are so happy that they see the favorite bands, uh, discussions with everybody from all over the world. And if you go, let's say, for example, to a hip hop or IDM concert, you will see much more violence than in the extreme metal area. So
It's funny
I
you
think this is
mentioned.
a good sign, because we are dealing with dark emotion, with brutality, with aggression. But in the end, most of the extreme metal fans, they are the most friendly people you can ever meet.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too, because I go to metal shows pretty much weekly now, and but like
Yeah.
I've been to my fair share of hip hop shows, and when I was seeing Cypress Hill, security was much more strict than any deathcore slam concert I've ever been to. So
We had there was a last year we played at the Wacken opener in Germany. About 80,000 people on the ground, and the police said, one of the police officers said, "Oh, we can go home. Nothing is happening. They are so friendly. All the people. We had nothing to do.
yeah,
So let's have a beer." Right? I
exactly.
think this is a good example of what's going on.
Yep, evil music for good people. That's how I describe our genre.
Yeah, but I think you are a good one when you accept the dark side,
Of
when
course.
you are able, or you are willed to see the whole picture of life.
Yeah. Well, every
This is what makes you relaxed.
Well, I mean, every human is different. Some people try to conquer their demons. Some people try to make peace with their
Yeah.
demons. Some people choose to run from their demons. Some people choose not to even
Mhm.
acknowledge their demons. So I think in the end,
Exactly.
how we handle our demons is one of the many things that define us as individuals.
Yeah, but you can, how to handle this exactly the right answer, but you can't put them in another room, the demons, because they are there. You have to arrange the situation with this, let's say, negativity or danger. You have to face it.
Yep.
There's no other way to do it, you know?
Yep. It's not the suffering that defines us, it's how we handle the suffering that does.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, as somebody who has been following Imperium Decadence long before Napalm, even here in North America, like I remember first hearing Procella Vadens in 2010 with
Oh,
Lacrimae Monday being my first black metal song ever. I've always said Imperium Decadence is my first black metal band. Um,
oh,
yeah,
good start.
Absolutely. But there I've noticed such an evolution through your sound when you compare this to When We Are Not Forgotten or To Sorrow Evermore. Was there always a preconceived vision of what you wanted an Imperium Decadence album to sound like? Was there always an idea you went into songwriting with? Or is it a very experimental and very improvisational process in your songwriting?
First of all, I have to say the goal was and is always to satisfy ourselves with the art we are producing. So there is no master plan. We have definitely sound like this or this and this. We just the goal is to write the record we want to hear, and where we can see our both personalities in the record. You know, we, it's a very egoistic approach, to be honest, because we want to satisfy ourselves, to put all our feelings in this record. And if people like it, very good. I'm very happy about that. But the best moments are when we receive the mastering, for example, and only two guys know the album, me and Horace, you know. And then we drink something and we listen to the album. That's are the greatest moments, because then the album is our very own statement, so to say, you know. And then after a while, right now, it's thrown into the abyss of the world, so to say, and then everybody knows it, which is a cool thing. But the best moment is when only two people know about the new songs because they are proud of how we did it. And so, yeah, we are not a band that has, like, let's say, a script like in the movies. This album we have to sound like this, next one we have to manage this or make changes like this. It's always coming naturally
Mm-hmm.
because the good thing is that we are two people with them. Let's say the combination, the result is always a very individual approach. I think I, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I think that we have our own established sound. Imperium is Imperium, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's great is that when you compare the album the debut album from 2006, which I'm not even gonna try to pronounce, but and then you compare it to Into Sorrow Evermore. There's a natural evolution in it, but it's natural. It isn't like you went into the making of When We Are Not Forgotten. We're gonna write Transcendence, which is more of in a major scale or something like that. You know.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that, for example, our Die Welt war gerade for the first album recorded it on an 8-track recorder in our rehearsal room. We had no experience what's going on in the studio. We did everything by ourselves, and unfortunately, we fucked up the sound in the last mixing session. But
Such is
it is
life.
what it is. And, it was well, the first steps. We had, we had no we had the idea, okay, let's make the record because we have a record deal right now, but there was no experience, nothing.
It happens.
But it's a long time ago, and I'm still. It's okay for the first album. But if I would release a kind of album like Development Kind of Learn nowadays, this no, because then we went into proper studios, we built up our home studios, we went more into recording. I see Universal Audio in the background.
Yep.
It's You are progressing all the time, songwriting wise, lyrical wise, and when it comes to recording, you know,
Absolutely. Um.
better.
Oh yeah.
It's like a good car. The more you drive it, the smoother he feels to you. You know, it's like a natural progression, so to say.
That's a very good analogy too, and you couldn't be more right. And speaking of older albums, I wanted to talk. And speaking of nostalgia, I actually wanted to talk about because this year in 2023 marks 10 years of Meadows of Nostalgia, and I kind of wanted to go
You're
back.
right. Mhm.
So I wanted to go back. This is now at this point the fourth album in Imperium Decadence. You mentioned that with the first album, that there was a lot of trial and error, and that there was stuff that you would do
Yeah.
different. But with Meadows of Nostalgia, would you feel like maybe that's when you sort of got the ball rolling, or did you feel like maybe with Priscilla Vadens and previous that maybe that's when you sort of defined your sound?
I think Matters of Nostalgia was the big step forward because this was the first time we recorded the drums at the Iguana Studios with our great friend Vespasian, our producer, and everything with this album, everything got more professional. Really good drum recording, not only in the rehearsal room, really good guitar amps. I think it was a big step from Ocala Wardens, which was produced mostly by ourselves in the rehearsal room, and Matters. I think you hear the difference. There was taken the step into more, let's say, it sounds more professional, bigger. Um, yeah, I think with this album, this was the opener for the second chapter, so to say. Production wise, songwriting wise, yeah, definitely.
Now, one question I needed to ask you, and I ask every band that has this, is that when you go by another identity, by Vespasian, do you feel like maybe you're
Mhm.
portraying sort of like an entity outside of yourself? Because your music is, as you mentioned, very rooted in personal emotion and personal feeling, but people in Imperium Decadence know you guys as Vespasian and Horaz rather than your actual name. So is there an essence of like sort of portraying, for lack of better words, a character or portraying an entity outside of yourself in Imperium Decadence?
Um, it's a tricky question because, to be honest, when we started, this was the time that we were very influenced by the second wave of Norwegian black metal, and they all had their, let's say, synonyms or special names like Nocturnal Culto, Fenris, Satyr from Satyricon. And to be honest, we tried to adapt this a little bit to keep it more uh, mysterious, you know. There's not there's no master plan when it comes to these names. But the funny thing is, I never said this before, that in the name Vespasian, which is an ancient emperor, as we all know, Parsi, this is a part of my real name. So I'm into Vespasian. My name is there, not visible for everyone who doesn't know me personally, but now with this interview, it's out. so
We finally
so
cleared that up.
it's
Blabbermouth. You know it's.
Vespasian, but it's still very personal. So, but yeah, to be honest, we were very influenced by all this Norwegian black metal stuff that was going on in the mid '90s, and we were so fascinated. This was the time before internet and before YouTube. You know, we all the only thing we had were some old fan signs that we ordered in Norway, and there were these corpse band guys in the forest, and this was like, holy shit, this is so fucking cool. And this was something we said we want to go in this direction. So yeah.
And you mentioned being influenced by like the Norwegian black metal. Now, every style of heavy metal music, whether it'll be black metal, death metal, metalcore, new metal, always a lot of times personal struggles and personal subject matters, uh, as you express, are always used as an influence for the lyrics and the meaning. Why do you feel that your style of music is the best way to sort of let out your own personal darkness?
Yeah, because as I already mentioned, we are very attracted by the darkness, the night, the nature, and I think black metal is a perfect way to express all these emotions, this nature, mystic, or also the romantic, melancholic stuff. Black metal is for me like a painting of Caspar David Friedrich, for example. It carries exactly this emotion of loneliness, longing, hate. aggression, but also has some, let's say, even romantic approach. Black metal for us is, let's say, the complete picture of life, and the best way for us with the tremolo picking, the twin lead melodies. It's just the music we have to do. There's no other choice for us. It's our destiny. This is like a script somebody has written for us even before we were born. That someday we have to play black metal and make black metal albums. There's no other way. I'm a big fan of all different kind of music. I listen to classical music. I'm a big fan of old blues from the 40s and 50s. I'm a big fan of rock and roll stuff like Motorhead or Rose 2. And I like Iron Maiden. I like some power metal stuff. I'm very into doom metal and also ambient sounds. But black metal for me it fits best for the personality. For me, yeah, it's a destiny. It's a passion. It's the only way to go. There's no discussion about that.
When you work on a song though, because sometimes you're working on a song or an album for a long period of time, that when you have to work on something for a long time, is it harder to sort of maintain the emotion that initially sparked that idea, or or is that never really an issue to hold on to that emotional spark?
This is not an issue because when you're writing the first riff, um, and make the first recordings with some drums, bass, and then this song is going in this direction. And, and even after 10 or 15 seconds, you know the feeling that the song will or has to transport. And so this is no problem to work over a long period because the emotion is always there. I never had the experience that I listened to something twice and added something, and then I felt, oh, I don't feel anything anymore. Luckily, when I feel the first riff, the emotion is there, then I have the picture in mind, and I sum up the things, riffs, breaks, yeah. So this is not a big issue.
When you are playing live, if you were to play live and then you do like an Into Sorrow Evermore song do a do a Meadows of Nostalgia song and then, go all around your catalog, does it almost put you
Mm-hmm.
back in the mind frame that you were in at that particular year in a way?
You think that for us it's like time traveling, or
Yeah, in a way. Is it sort of like
Yeah,
that?
definitely, because each album is a chapter of life, and during a live show you are thrown into different chapters. The first moment you think you are 20 years old again, then now I'm in my mid 30s. Now we have a very nostalgic one from the first one. So it's like a roller coaster of the life.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a fan question, I just wanted to say because with Transcendence being again one of my favorite songs in the genre, I just found it so amazing. I did make a joke about it saying, wow, this band could play a black metal festival, they could play like Beyond the Gates festival, and with this chord progression now they could play When We Were Young festival. The this but
somebody called. Somebody said this is a Blink 182 in black metal.
Blink 666.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Somebody wrote it in the YouTube comments. Yeah.
yeah. But with the major and minor key, because it has such a roller coaster vibe, I just want to know what
Mhm.
emotions you were feeling at that particular time. Because for me, I've listened to the song walking down the boardwalk in Coney Island on a bright sunny day, but I've also listened to it in the rain in a blizzard. So,
It's hard for me to answer because the most of the riffs, the Horace was written, this one. So I don't know exactly what he had in mind when he wrote the first riff for this one. Uh, it's hard to say for me. For me, it's like a strange mixture of melancholy, but there's something joyful in it going on. It's like crying and laughing combined. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's very hard to grab it because you can't say, this is aggressive one, this is a slow one. It's a it's a mix. It's a bastard of all different emotions. It's hard to describe. So this would be a good question for us. Sorry, I'm not the.
No, no, it's okay. I just my review of the song is it's a mockery of life and a celebration of death. That's how I sort of look at it.
That sounds. That sounds. That sounds good to me. Exactly.
Yeah,
It's like to have a walk and maybe you have some tears in your eyes because something bad happened, but in the same situation, you know, there's a road up there and I have to go it. Just to say goodbye to something old and to say hello to something new. And I think this song maybe is in between,
definitely.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And the final question I wanted to ask you is going back to the emotional elements that inspire an Imperium Decadence song. Do you need to look for it? Do you guys seek out the inspiration to write? And is there a like maybe research involved, or does the emotion that inspires it just come out of nowhere for you?
I think emotions are always addition of different situations. We are walking through life with open eyes and open ears. So this is the first thing you get inspiration. But then we are, on the other side, we are very nostalgic people. So we are very into history books, for example, about ancient history, Roman Empire. Uh, we like to hike in the woods and to visit old castles. And this is another part of inspiration. And the other one is surely music from other people and good movies. Everything that takes you on a, let's say, trip and makes you forget about the so-called real world. Everything can inspire you in a very special way. But to sum it up, our main inspiration is what we see, what we hear, and what we read, what we feel.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I mean, where else would it come from? Like I think you
Yeah.
mentioning the five senses is perfect. What you see, smell, taste, feel, and hear. Um, so before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today for such an awesome
Thank you.
conversation.
Thank
It's
you
a
very much.
great to finally talk to, as again, my first black metal band. Even I listened to it
Great to
before I
hear.
knew what
Great to
black
hear.
metal was. Is there just anything else that you would like to promote for Imperium Decadence with the release of Sorrow Evermore in terms of touring? Can you please one day bring Imperium Decadence to the States? Or if I ever take a trip to
I hope
Bavaria,
so. I hope so. You know, today the situation when it comes to concert is more difficult than ever before because of all the pandemic shit that was going on. But definitely, our one of our biggest goals is to play in the US to make a good tour, maybe a good package for 5 bands. I'm sure that would be a great experience because we have so many contacts with cool US boys and girls, and I want to play there. I want to play in, let's say, Chicago, New York, LA, San Diego, and Philadelphia, and whatever, wherever. This is one of our biggest goals. So I want to take the opportunity to say a thank you to all the supporters, but because one thing is very, very clear and very sure, but without our supporters, we are not the big band, so to say, but we are able to do something on a good level. And without the supporters and the people who are interested in what we are doing, nothing would be possible. So a big, big thank you to everyone who is interested in what we are doing. And I have one thing to add. Please go to underground concerts and please visit concerts from smaller bands because this is the essence of rock and roll. It's okay to go to an Iron Maiden or Rammstein concert. It's okay, but don't forget where it all comes from and where the real rock and roll shit is going on. And I swear to you, to bang your head with 200 sweaty motherfuckers is far more intense than to visit Rammstein with 80,000 people in the stadium.
yeah,
So please go to concert because if not, the scene is struggling so much. People don't buy tickets anymore because they're afraid that the concert will be cancelled or not. So please support the underground.
we definitely will. As long as if they're pissed off kids, there will always be heavy metal. So and people are beyond pissed off right now. So I do see something simmering. Even if it doesn't seem like things are great right now, mark my words, all this shit will erupt.
I'm accurate.
Yep.
But as we already mentioned when we talked about friendly people, maybe they are pissed off, but they are very good people in their heart. I'm sure about that. If you are a good guy, a good girl with a good taste, and you are interested in darkness and light, then sooner or later you're listening to heavy metal.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And also, I just want to pitch this to you: show in the Bavarian forest, make it happen. Make it like a South Germany special, like you guys, Obscura, Dark Fortress.
Ah, yeah,
Yep,
we know that.
yep.
Yeah.
And bring Harakiri from the Sky from Austria too as
Yeah, we played with them several times. Last concert with them there was on the Dark Eastern Metal meeting here in Munich. With last year, I think in May, end of.
yeah.
So I know them very well. Cool band.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're doing their first North American tour soon, and I can't wait to see that. But
Yeah, I heard about it. So I hope we can come to you very, very soon. So if you got any contacts, bookers, please contact us. We're absolutely open-minded.
definitely,
And definitely want to play for you guys in the US.
definitely. Well, thank you so much, everybody. We are here with Imperium Decadence, Into Sorrow Evermore, coming out via Napalm Records very soon. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.